This is line 6, and we are about to get somebody on the line from Canada, Vancouver. It is our first international interview, and I couldn't be happier to have Jessie Day on the other end of the line. So let's see if my skills of interviewing worked on, I think it was Tuesday or Monday. We did it. Tuesday we did this interview. But this is the interview that I had with Jessie Day, Daybreak. Everyone, get ready to enjoy yourself.
Hello?
Jessie.
Yes.
Hey, good to hear your voice.
Yes, good to hear your voice, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and it's nice to hear you. We've tried this a few times already, and I think it's finally working.
Okay, that's great.
You
Yes,
sound
the international
crystal
calls,
clear.
they can... Oh, it does. That's excellent.
Well, before we get into just kind of chatting away like old friends, because we do go back, everyone, this is Jessie Day, and I'd like to give him a moment just to briefly introduce himself, and then we'll kind of go on and talk a little bit about what he's doing. So, Jessie, tell the world, who are you?
Yes, my name is Jessie Day, and I actually have quite a long history in Korea and a history with TBS EFM as well, going back to when I was a guest on the show K-Popular with As One, and ending my career there on the show Show King with SJ. So I've had a lot of great times there, and I basically spent about 7.5 years in Seoul City in taking part in the entertainment industry as both a musician and actor and presenter. And the main job I had was being a travel reporter for various TV stations. So I did a ton of traveling around the country and presenting various Korean foods and Korean festivals and stuff like that. So it was an amazing time, and now I'm back home in Vancouver, Canada, to follow my dream of being a hip-hop artist, essentially a rapper as well as a producer. And so that's where I currently have my roots.
All right, yeah, and that would make you basically my sunbae if you're everything you did in Korea. I'm just following you.
I suppose it would, yeah.
So Jessie and I go back. We met here in Korea, but Jessie's story. Normally, when we interview people, we ask them why they came to Korea. But I actually want to ask you. I start this off with a different question. Your, let's say, history of rapping didn't start in Korea, right?
No, it didn't. I began first actually picking up a pencil at the time and writing lyrics and actually practicing rapping when I was 9 years old.
9 years old?
Yeah. At that time, I was listening to Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, Run DMC.
Oh, yeah.
And those artists, it's really funny, actually. I have a very distinct memory. The very first rap I wrote when I was 9 was... because at the time, obviously, I did not have any sort of recording equipment. But what I did have was a small Fisher-Price brand kids tape player. And there was also, you could, remember back in the day, these are like, you might not have even been born. Only 80s kids might really know this. But, you had your tapes, you made mixtapes, and you had your tape players, and you could hit like play and record at the same time and record over the tape.
Oh, yeah.
So... or onto a blank tape, and the little Fisher-Price basically tape recorder had a little mic built in, and so I basically was playing LL Cool J's "Mama Said Knock You Out" on another, like my dad's stereo system, and then I hit play and record on my Fisher-Price tape recorder, and I rapped over, essentially it was the entire song, kind of my own interpretation of it. I don't really remember the lyrics, but I think I remember it was something about cereal, and because that's what I knew at that age, growing up in middle-class suburbia. So that was kind of when I first started, and from there, I really developed my rapping skills primarily by rapping along to all of my favorite records. So just reading along with the lyrics at first, and then totally memorizing the lyrics to all of my favorite rap songs and albums, and just continuously rapping along to them like every single day over and over. So that's kind of how I got my start with it.
Excellent. I did not know that, and that's pretty cool. And then did you then do it through, let's say, high school, university? Because and I'll just kind of lead you to this, but you can take as long as you need to get there. My understanding of your rap career goes back to China, as far as I know. Yeah. Because we haven't talked about before China, but do you have something before that?
Yes. So actually, interestingly, I went through a number of, like at the time when I was the same time when I was practicing rap and listening to hip-hop music, I was also consuming a variety of different music, a lot of rock, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. The very first album I ever got, and that absolutely consumed my life, was Michael Jackson's Dangerous.
Oh.
And that was like one Christmas when I must have been 7 or 8. I got a Walkman and Michael Jackson's Dangerous, and that was the first cassette, the first album that I ever owned. And it was the only one I owned, right? So I just used to listen to it on repeat every single day, over and over. I went around my elementary school terrorizing people, just singing the songs from this album, which must have been bad, because at the time I didn't know I was a terrible singer, but I'm a terrible singer. And then from there, once I got into middle school, I started to play a variety of instruments. I joined the band, and I don't know, I guess I can't stick to one thing, but in grade 6 I played clarinet, and then in grade 7 I switched to bass guitar, and grade 8 I switched to snare drum. And to this day I can still play bass very well, because I stuck with that. I don't remember how to play clarinet, and I can play some basic drums. But moving forward from there, in high school I got really into punk rock music, like Bad Religion, Dead Kennedys, and stuff like that. And so I formed several punk bands, and we used to practice. Then I got into metal, like Pantera, old school Metallica, Sepultura. So it's kind of all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
To answer your question. And then I kind of rediscovered hip-hop and got back into it after high school. So at that point is when I started to decide that I wanted to kind of do hip-hop music again. And then I grew up in a very small town called Parksville on Vancouver Island, but I moved to Vancouver, and I ended up going to university for acting, acting for the camera, and then I decided to kind of record my first hip-hop music then. So that was kind of when it started for me to create my own original hip-hop music. And then I released an EP, I started to do shows around the Vancouver area, and that is when my connection to both Korea and China began, because I ended up being friends with a ton of Korean and Chinese students, and they would all come to my shows. So they would come to my shows, and at the same time, we were hanging out outside of my shows. Like, just we became friends with a bunch of these people, and they introduced me to a lot of their country's music. So there was a lot of Japanese people I was friends with as well. So I ended up getting into some Japanese and Korean hip hop, because until recently, there's no such thing as Chinese hip hop, really, besides really, really underground stuff. So I ended up kind of exploring all that, and just through my connection specifically with the Chinese community, I was doing shows for like Chinese New Year and stuff with this one particular company called Van Sky, and I was always like the only non-Chinese performer, and I ended up kind of becoming friends with the heads of the company, and they were really kind of pushing me, like, you should really go to China to do hip-hop, because doesn't really exist there. It's kind of a new thing.
Huh.
And yeah, I ended up recording a couple songs with Chinese female vocalists, one girl from Hong Kong and one girl from Beijing. And like they would do the hook, and I did the verses in English, and they did the hook in Chinese. And I started to promote the tracks on Chinese MySpace.
Oh, man.
So this is going back. And in that day, MySpace was popping, and Chinese MySpace was also somewhat popular. So I ended up getting a really good response and developing a following on Chinese MySpace to the point where I decided I need to go to China and like perform for my fans, essentially, because I started to develop a fan base, and it kind of grew from there. And then I entered into the Chinese hip-hop scene, really, really underground hip-hop scene, which was a real trip, and spent a year and a half there, and then moved to Korea.
Wow. And then you came to Korea, and
yeah.
I'm just trying to like process everything you just said. There's a lot. So you came to Korea after that, and what year was that roughly?
I believe that was 2008.
2008. And you came here. Did you jump into hip hop right away? Because you know.
Sorry, it was 2009. Sorry.
Okay. You came in 2009.
End of 2009.
And I know that while you were here, you didn't only just do the travel stuff. You did acting. You did a little bit of YouTube, and I know you also did some music shows out here, hip hop.
Yeah.
So can you tell us briefly a little bit about the non-hip-hop stuff, and then we'll go into what you did here and into Vancouver. But what are the other things you did while you were in Korea?
Sure. Well, I decided, like, in China, I was kind of trying to strictly pursue hip-hop, and I did several shows, and then I got into some TV stuff. So once I started getting into TV stuff in China, I started to realize, like, maybe I want to expand to not just focus on hip-hop, but branch out and do, like, entertainment in general. And it was at that point that I knew already, well, the center of the entertainment industry in Asia is South Korea, straight up, for sure, because it's the media most consumed by the other Southeastern Asian countries, as well as, of course, to this day, we know about the whole Hallyu wave and all that. So it's now consumed by people all over the world. But at the time, I knew that Seoul City was the place to be if you wanted to do entertainment in Asia.
Right.
So I decided to move there with really no connections. Now, my girlfriend at the time lived there, so her and a handful of friends were the only people I knew. But I decided, like, I'm going to go there and try to make a go at it. So the very first entertainment job I ever got was children's television. So dressing up in costumes, dancing around, singing songs in English. So basically programs to teach kids in Korea English.
Right.
And through those programs, I met a lot of very important people who really kind of helped mentor me in a way, giving me advice and kind of pushing me in the right direction in the industry. And so, yeah, through that, I started to expand, and then eventually I started to get some more gigs in, like, doing commercial films, like, for various big Korean companies. And then I started to kind of get into the travel reporting, and it kind of blossomed from there into a variety of things. But and moving into hip hop, I'll set you up here.
Yeah.
The very biggest thing I did about a year after I got there was appear on the show Star King, rapping in Korean, and that was a big, big goal for me.
I've seen that.
When I first got to Korea, that was my goal.
That was you, and you were on the show with Outsider, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That was an amazing thing to watch. It was really fun. So
yeah,
and you got to meet him. Is he cool?
Yeah. I got to meet him, and but it was really surreal, like hanging backstage with 2PM and Outsider, and Orange Caramel was there. It was pretty crazy. But the interesting thing was the actual struggle to get onto Star King was really crazy, because I first auditioned as soon as I got to Korea.
Yeah.
Actually, a Star King writer sent me an email when I was still in China, and I was kind of on the fence about moving to Korea, and that email kind of pushed me to go, you know what? And then I started to think of all the other advantages of opportunities that I might find in Seoul, and I thought, my girlfriend was there too, so I thought, okay, let's go. And I auditioned as soon as I got there. And at the time, my Korean was really bad, and I only knew one Korean song, and I didn't even rap it that well. But so I got rejected for the first audition.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of led me to practice over and over and over, learn a variety of songs. And then a year later, I got my second chance to audition. And I basically, at the audition, I gave them everything I had. And they basically told me in a bit of a roundabout way that you have to rap an Outsider song if you want to be on our show.
Oh.
And I was just like, that's ridiculous. I considered learning Outsider songs, because I was like, well, I knew some songs by Epic High and Yoonmire and a few other artists. And I'd heard of Outsider, and he's super fast, and I looked his stuff up, and I thought, there's no way I can ever learn any of this music. It's ridiculous. It's too fast. So, but they kind of put an ultimatum to me. So I spent the next 3 months spending about 3 to 4 hours a day on average practicing this one song, Wetori, which we eventually performed. I eventually performed on the program with Outsider. And it was a crazy, crazy grind. I would often spend 3 hours practicing 2 to 4 seconds of the song.
Oh, yeah,
over and over and over again. Because what I would do is I would actually slow it down by like 50%, and then I would practice doing it at that speed until I could get it. Then I would gradually increase by a few percentiles at a time the speed until I got up to full for like literally a 2 to 4 second segment. So it was a ridiculous amount of work, but in the end it really paid off, because that was one of the biggest experiences and best experiences I had in Korea.
All right. Yeah, that is, I remember learning Noraebang songs. That's how I learned them too in Korea. You drop it down to 50%, 75%, and that's exactly how I did. That's really cool to hear someone else doing that. So you ended up doing a lot of things. I remember you had a song, Dambyo, right? The spicy one. I remember that. I know that was a
Yeah.
parody. I know it was. It's not to your roots of, let's say, assassin. Well, I'll just lead into that eventually. But it was fun. It was a cool video. You put a lot of money or like something. Like there was production in there.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, yeah. Thinking about it now, it wasn't a small amount of money, but it wasn't huge. It wasn't like a massive budget. But I had a lot of people who were helping me along the way
Right.
in terms of helping me with costs and giving me locations at a discount, and the crew members working for maybe a little bit less than they would normally get.
Right.
So that really helped out. But yeah, that was kind of my own original Korean music video, and it was a comedy video about just I'm the king of eating spicy food. And that whole video kind of is really what led me into eventually starting a regular series on my YouTube channel, which was all about conquering the spiciest food in Korea.
Yeah.
And that became probably the most successful solo project that I did. I mean, I guess it's probably the most successful thing that I did in terms of the views I got.
Right.
And to the point where I got several TV appearances because of it, and then I got recognized on the streets like about twice a month.
Nice.
It's not a lot, but it's something.
Hey,
but
it counts.
every time I did it was, it was never because of something that I did on Korean TV. It was always because of my YouTube channel. So that was pretty cool because it's kind of something I built totally by myself from the ground up, starting with like a low quality camera pointed at myself in my apartment, and then eventually moving on to getting a crew and with multiple cameras and going to like the top restaurants for spicy food in Seoul,
Right.
and getting some celebrities on the show as well. So that was a really cool experience too.
All right. We're gonna lead into kind of your new life in Vancouver after the break. We're getting to that 7:00 hour. But what we're gonna do is go to the break and play one of your songs. But can you choose a song? Don't give us your most recent one yet. We're saving that.
Okay.
But give us a song that we can play that will kind of bring us into your Vancouver life. What song would you like to show our listeners on the radio?
Okay, so it's my first single, Probably Drunk, and it's a song all about drinking, which I learned very much about with Korea's drinking culture. I'm a big lover of soju. Unfortunately, it's very expensive over here in Canada, so I don't really get the luxury to drink it very often. But the song is about partying, having a good time, and it is called Probably Drunk.
All right, fantastic. We're going to have to go to the 7:00 break, but the first song when everyone comes back will be Probably Drunk. But the name is not Jesse Day. It is, give it to us.
Daybreak.
All right.
Daybreak, baby.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back right after this.
Yeah, I think I got a drinking problem. I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes. Where's the bartender? Yo, somebody fill my glass up. It's Daybreak. Here we go. From the back to front, Daybreak got the beat to make your body jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. So come on, we move it back to front. Daybreak got the flow to make your party jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. A liquor killer swilling 40s of rum. A booze swiller killing shorties for fun. I got a full stock, homie, yeah, barrels of ale. Just tell me what you need, cause I got barrels for sale. We partying like Prohibition just in. Yup, it's black market in the city of sin. Light up the target cause we in it to win. I'm working magic in the basement with the still and some gin. We got cases and cases of hard-ish. Type of hooch to make a genius retarded. Aged oak cask highly regarded. If you wanna do the deal, sign on the dotted. Now let's toast to success. When it comes to vice dealing, yes, I'm known as the best. A straight shooter, no charlatan. Your best friend when you got liquor money to spend. I said, hey, from the back to front, Daybreak got the beat to make your body jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. So come on, we moving back to front. Daybreak got the flow to make your party jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. Top shelf, man, that cheaper swill. Daybreak drink like the Reaper kill. No time for these lightweights, they weaker willed. Wine, women, songs, stay strong while y'all are sleeping still. I'm brewing up a new batch. This 151 make your liver collapse. My rhymes flow like a river of raps. Drown your whole crew in a river of paps. Gone. I am the champ, unrivaled. Shot after shot, hold the heavyweight title. You don't wanna step in the ring. You ain't got a way to bring death to the king. A glorious thing, the whole world is mine. The last at the bar when the stars align. Line my drinks up 3 at a time. Bourbon, absinthe, and tequila with lime. Hey, from the back to front, Daybreak got the beat to make your body jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. So come on, we moving back to front. Daybreak got the flow to make your party jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. Blood alcohol above the norm again. Another drink and I'm born again. All my booze fiends just storming in. Can't purify us, we was born in sin. Born to win, with the will of a champ. Y'all irrelevant, they still in demand. Yeah. Down a whole lot of liquor. Party till we swerve, but observe the bigger picture. It's divide and conquer. We monsters, lawless commando contras. It's heartless if anyone deny me booze. It's like if kids were starved and you denied them food. But my supply's so deep with marked crates. Fill up my supply and seek a dark fates. But if you with me, know I got your back. And if you buy me a drink, I'ma get you back. Hey, from the back to front, Daybreak got the beat to make your body jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. So come on, we moving back to front. Daybreak got the flow to make your party jump. Yeah, plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. Hey, yeah, from the back. You lightweights need to keep up. To make your body jump. Yo, take your shot. Plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. This is top shelf, man. We moving back to front. Daybreak. Daybreak got the flow to make your party jump. Hey, Slam. Plus I'm probably drunk. I brought another case in case you hardly drunk. You dealing with the champ.
And that was Probably Drunk by Daybreak, who is in the studio. You may be confused. That's also the name of Jesse Day, who is here. Thank you again, Jesse, for being with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. It is an honor.
It is good to have you here. Good to hear your voice again from across the world.
Yeah.
Tell me about that song. What was any inspiration or anything you learned from the making of it? Give us something about Probably Drunk.
Yeah, well, actually, the concept goes back to a little bit of 1920s Prohibition era. So I wanted to make a track. And if you listen carefully to the lyrics and you actually end up, you can go to my website, daybreakmc.ca, and you can find the song on iTunes and wherever music is sold online. But if you take a look at the cover art, I've got like a 1920s style suit on, sitting there with a bottle of whiskey and a glass of whiskey in my hand. And there's some lyrics in the song as well that kind of allude to Prohibition era. So it's a little bit about bootlegging liquor back in the days when it was illegal. So that was kind of the vibe I wanted to create with the track. And what I learned from it was a whole lot. I mean, to be totally honest, I'm not super happy with how it turned out now, simply because like I like the track, people like the track, but I think as an artist you kind of have to always be really critical of yourself. And I'm just so much better now than I was when I recorded that song, which you will hear in the final song of mine we will play. So I'm happy with the track. It was part of my journey, and I do like the concept. But yeah, that's kind of what I learned from it. As
a fellow YouTuber, or once YouTuber, I mean, I remember looking back at my first video and thinking, what was I doing? And there's so many regrets.
Yeah, I can't watch my first video anymore. It's just like my hair even was so bad. I mean, I can criticize every single piece of it for sure.
Oh, man. All right, let's talk about what made you, decide Vancouver was where you wanted to be. Van City. I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw you post about it. And Lighters, yet another a cover song, Lighters Up Van City remix, or But what?
That's right.
Why Van City? Why are you there?
Well, I'm from Vancouver Island, so Victoria is my hometown, and I was active in the Vancouver hip hop scene before I moved to China. In quite a big way, actually. So I figured my idea in moving back was I was having a good time in Korea, but I felt a little bit complacent. Like everything was just kind of in the middle. And I had to kind of decide exactly where do I want to try to expand my entertainment or my music career there. Because in terms of music, there's not a ton of options. I mean, you see some foreigners and foreign music groups like Part-Time Cooks, shout out to my boys' blessing and it's
Yeah.
all good. They are really doing it the right way and doing it in a very interesting way to where they're now appealing to the Korean market. But for me, I wanted to get back to really my roots, which was the old school hip hop that I grew up and I loved and I listened to. And so I knew to get back to that, I needed to come back home. I needed to perform and be active in Canada and eventually America and, eventually all over the world. That's the goal. But because all of the music I wanted to make is English language strictly, so I really felt, and I just feel like there's some sort of power, there's something in going back to where you're from and holding on to that and making success there first before you then expand. So I decided, and not to mention my buddy DJ A-Slam, who I used to make music with, is still here, and we're now making tracks together again. And so the old boys are back together again,
Yeah.
And that's a really key component to the tracks I've created so far, and to the tracks I'm continuing to make as it moves forward. So I've got the right people here to help me, and so that's a big part of it as well.
All right. And got just two more parts of this left I want to talk to you about, and the last thing will be your most recent song. So besides the song, what is Jesse Day's, what is Daybreak's plan moving forward? What are the steps that you want to take? And, what are the things you're going to be doing to kind of break out in the, I'm going to call it the indie hip-hop scene because I don't know how to call it.
Yeah,
but
that's absolutely right.
What are your steps that you're going to take, and what are your goals that you're hoping for?
So the goal I'm hoping for is to be one of the best in the world. That's really what I want to do. So
it should never be less than that. It should never be less than that.
Of course, that's one step at a time. But of course, man, media appearances like this are amazing. So thank you so much for having me on the show, because this is the sort of thing that helps me out so much.
No, my pleasure, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing. I've done a radio program already here in Vancouver. I got another radio interview coming up in Van, and doing shows. I just did my first show since coming back at the University of British Columbia.
Nice.
And I've got another show coming up April 26th at the Railway Club in downtown Vancouver. And then getting my music on as many indie radio stations as possible. So far my new track, Rap Assassin, has been played on about 10 radio stations all over the world. It's being played in South Africa right now, in the Netherlands, as well as in U.S. and Canada. And hey, you're playing my music here on TBS EFM, so I can add Korea to that as well.
There we go.
Yeah, so doing that, getting it up on, getting it reviewed and posted on independent music websites and blogs, and that's kind of a bit of the foundation. I'm going to be looking to record more songs because I have 2 remixes and 2 original songs right now, so I'm going to be recording my 3rd original song in the middle of this month, which is awesome because it's a collaboration with a producer from Greece who actually is living in Greece right now.
Wow.
He calls himself Retro Beats, and he makes really fascinating beats using old school equipment. He uses Ataris and Commodore 64 computers. Now, kids listening, I don't think you have any idea what I'm talking about. This is really an old school thing. But these were the old computers and video game systems way before we had, your Xbox 9 or whatever has come out these days.
Yeah.
And your, new Mac or new PC. And he uses those to sample and make beats. So he made a really awesome beat for me. So I'm going to be recording that, sending press releases out to, it's a whole lot of a grind when you're here kind of doing it all on your own. So it's a bunch of work in terms of making press releases, sending them out, and all that sort of stuff. So the idea is just to keep building, keep pushing, do more shows, make more music, and eventually get to the point where, I just keep improving. The other key thing, which I think a lot of rappers especially either neglect or don't put enough attention on, is actually practicing rapping itself, because it's so easy to get to a point where you think, okay, I can rap, and then you just sit with it. But for me, I'm trying to practice as much as I can, on a daily basis, and then tweaking a little bit here and there my flow and the intonation of my voice, and becoming a little bit better all the time, so that every song I make hits harder, and people to the point where eventually I hope people and taste makers in the industry and all of that sort of stuff will be able to listen and be like, wow, this guy has the potential to be one of the best. And so it's a lot of work spent on the actual rapping and the musical process itself as well.
So you're telling me that hip-hop isn't just champagne in the club and private jets?
It's the opposite of that. It's being alone. It's being alone. It's a lonely, lonely existence, especially because when it comes to indie music, normally with a band, you've got bandmates, and you can all assign different tasks. If you're smart, you'll all assign different tasks, like, okay, this person takes care of the social media, this person takes care, this person's really good at writing, so let's have them write press releases and write web copy. This guy knows basic graphic design, let's have him make our album art or whatever, right? You can kind of assign different tasks, but when you're one person tackling all these things, then, you have so much work to do.
Yeah.
And it's literally like just sending out to independent radio. I told you that I got my song played on about 10 stations. I spent about, I don't know how many hours of time putting together a press release and compiling and curating a list of independent radio stations across the world that play hip-hop music. Because you can't just randomly send out to every single radio station you come across. You have to look at their shows. You have to look at what sort of music they play. So that took an incredible amount of time. So it's all these sorts of things that are actually the core of it, essentially. And hopefully there's champagne and supermodel somewhere down the road. But that's definitely not the goal. The goal has to be the process itself, right?
Yeah.
And getting your music heard by as many people as possible.
All right, well, fantastic. Let's go ahead and keep that trend going by getting your latest track out. But this will kind of end our segment, so I want to give you enough time also to tell us a little bit about the song. And don't forget, of course, you got to promo yourself, social media, all that stuff. So the floor is yours, but I'm going to ask you a few questions about it. This newest song is called Rap Assassin. The first one that should lead you off, why write a song called Rap Assassin?
Because it's a bit of a response to the current trend in hip-hop. I say hip-hop loosely because a lot of the newer trap genre music or hip-hop music coming out, in my opinion, is not hip-hop. And those musicians or artists are not rappers, in my opinion. And so I'm not going to name any names, but there's a lot of music that's been coming out that I find very, very subpar in the genre. And I know I'm not alone. People all across the world who are real fans of hip-hop are feeling the same way, as well as many old-school MCs, OGs in the game, who feel the same way about a lot of the so-called hip-hop that's becoming popular these days, where it's just a guy mumbling or chanting the same lyrics over and over and over, it's a bit of a mess in many cases. Now, I can't blame those artists, really, because you make something and the public consumes it and it becomes popular. That's the fault of the consumer, I guess. But for me, I want to bring people's attention to real lyricism. And in this day and age, there's still great hip-hop coming out all over the place. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, the focus seems to be on these really mainstream artists who are producing really subpar lyrical content and are not really even rapping, in my opinion. So I kind of made this track in a response, and so I'm the rap assassin sent to slay all the pretenders. That's basically the concept of the song.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to call you out on the spot, though. I won't make you say anyone's name that you don't like, but who is the best mainstream rapper, hip-hop artist out there? Do you have someone?
Ooh. Well, geez, it's tough to say mainstream, but I mean, Method Man from the Wu-Tang Clan is
he still going?
Used to be, Wu-Tang just released a new album. It was last year, near the end of last year.
Yeah.
An incredible record, unbelievable record, and they're in their finest form. It's just like old school Wu-Tang. And Method Man is my favorite member from that group. Now these days, you can't really consider him mainstream as opposed to all of the newer trap rappers that are out there. But back in the day, he was appearing as a guest on a lot of really huge people's songs. So he was definitely mainstream.
I mean, he made it to Limp Bizkit. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah. He's been everywhere. So for me, he's one of my biggest influences and my biggest inspirations.
That is excellent to hear. All right. These are your final words, Jesse Day. I'm going to say goodbye to you right now, and thank you so much for coming on the show. But it's up to you now. Promo yourself, give us your social media links, and introduce the song.
Sure. So you can check out my website at daybreakmc.ca. There's links there to either download the remixes I've done or go ahead and head to iTunes and purchase my 2 original singles. On Instagram, you can find me at daybreakmc. And on Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/daybreakhiphop, or you can just search Daybreak MC. On YouTube, you can either search Daybreak Hip Hop or Jesse Day. And, if you want to, you can check out my Korean channel by searching Jesse Day and find all of my spicy food challenges. And I also have my music on there now as well. So that's where you can find me on the web. And this next track is called Rap Assassin. It is my ode to old school hip-hop, and it's got a little bit of an influence as well from old school samurai and ninja films and kung fu movies, as well as horror movies. So I hope you enjoy it.
All right, thank you so much, Jesse. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Daybreak. There's a price on your head, and I'm coming for you. GPS. I've God's flow with tempo that'll pound blood out of your temples. The physical, the mental, the spiritual dimension. So welcome to my dojo, sipping on Merlot in slow-mo. Young in my heart with a no soul, a ninja my mission so low. It's go time so hard out, cause trust me you don't wanna find out how we slay, we grind out. They line up for my grindhouse, how we play, no timeouts. You come to life or you die out, no replays, just lights out. Got all y'all in my sights now. Steady aim, fire, die. Maybe in another life you could come back, get revenge, and I'll see you on the other side. Not likely, don't hold your breath, just breathe your last and clutch your chest. Just close your eyes, so close to death, be satisfied, you face the best. Ace the test, as a matter of fact, erase the rest. Not one compares, no one contests, no one would dare, no one is left. Stand alone with an iron fist, command the throne. We aren't born with hearts of stone, you find yourself in parts unknown. Yeah. This is the era of the rap assassin. Bodies in my wake, it's a crime of passion. These are real rhymes, this is not a cash-in. Devastate my flows in amazing fashion. Yeah. This is the era of the rap assassin. Bodies in my wake, it's a crime of passion. These are real rhymes, this is not a cash-in. Come on. Devastate my flows in amazing fashion. Listen. It's just the lonely few who take up the sword, who wake up with blood pumping through their veins and they pores, who wake up to hard times but they're ready for more, who wake up to opposition and they're ready for war. Yeah. I am the lone and forsaken blade of my kin, making gin in the basement. And victory so close I can taste it. Drunken artistry, so verbose when I'm wasted. Katana swinging to the finish, and when they name the champ, yes it still is. No man can test my limits, it's my battle cry. Sword swinging savagery, whack rhymes the melody, endgame fatality. A purifier in a sea of the dead. I'll see your body rest in peace when it's relieved of your head. And if you think you safe, I see you lost and misled, because the feast of souls continues till the gods have been fed. This is the era of the rap assassin. Bodies in my wake, it's a crime of passion. These are real rhymes, this is not a cash-in. Devastate my flows in amazing fashion. Finished. Rap assassin. Bodies in my wake, it's a crime of passion. These are real rhymes, this is not a cash-in. Devastate my flows in amazing fashion. Feast of souls continues till the gods have been fed. This is the era of the rap assassin. Bodies in my wake, it's a crime of passion. I got passion. These are real rhymes, this is not a cash-in. Devastate my flows in amazing fashion. This is the era of the rap assassin. Bodies in my wake, it's a crime of passion. These are real rhymes, this is not a cash-in. Devastate my flows in amazing fashion. Come on. It's over now.
Global party starters.